The further you drive north in Syria, the more intense the war becomes. This road is the regime's fragile link between Damascus and Aleppo. Rebels cut it this summer where it reaches the Aleppo suburbs. They were only driven back by Syrian troops at the weekend. Shelling was still going on as we drove in, government artillery hitting rebel positions. It's been a long, hot and dangerous summer in Aleppo, and you can see it in the fabric of the city, the damage that's been done. Ceasefire is meant to stop all of that. Since the fighting started here in 2012, the west side of the city has been in government hands. Armed opposition groups control the east. 4 years of fighting have devastated Aleppo. This gives an idea of the firepower of the Syrian army and its Russian backers who've been making gains around Aleppo. One of the big questions about the ceasefire is whether they're prepared to give their enemies a chance to rest and regroup. On the rebel side, there are also doubts. Groups backed by the Americans have been told they have to separate from more radical militias, who they regard as allies. And another important rebel group, Akhra al-Sham, which is backed by Saudi Arabia, has already rejected the ceasefire agreement.
The deal that was announced between the US and Russia to resolve the issue in Syria does not achieve, in our view, the basic minimum goals set by our avenging people. They will lose all their sacrifices and gains.
In Damascus, President Bashar al-Assad chose to celebrate the Muslim festival of Eid al-Adha by visiting and praying in the suburb of Daraya. It was in rebel hands for 5 years until they surrendered at the end of August after what the UN called an unrelenting siege. President Assad's government has backed the ceasefire, but his words suggested that he has unfinished military business.
The Syrians to recover all areas from the terrorists, to restore security, to rebuild the infrastructure and everything else that was destroyed in both human and material aspects. We came here today to replace the fake freedom that they tried to promote at the beginning of the crisis, like in Daraya, with the real freedom.
The holiday is being celebrated. Even in wars, people try to live their lives. The ceasefire agreement is complicated, potentially fragile, and all sides in the war doubt whether it can work. But it's all the diplomats have. At the very least, it might be a respite for the people who need one most. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News, Aleppo.